Welcome to In Stitches with Mary. This is our first video for 2022 and I want to show you something I'm kind of excited about. I have been working on some different quilt blocks that I would like to highlight throughout the year. I'm calling it my Seams So Easy Quilt Along with Mary. Each month I'm going to highlight a different quilt block and show you how to put that together. Each block is really designed almost for that beginner, but if you are in the intermediate phase of quilting or more advanced, I think you're going to enjoy this as well. The blocks are going to finish at 12 inches square and require 3 fat quarters, a light, a medium, and a dark. That will be enough to make 3 blocks as I'm showing here in this table runner. The block I'd like to demonstrate for this month is called the Domino block, and it consists of this square right here in the center, as you can see. And I can't wait to show you how this goes together. So this is the Domino block, and as you can see here, I have a light fabric, a medium fabric, and a dark fabric. The order you put them in is really up to you. For the purpose of creating my instructions, I've just chose some solid Kona fabrics here, but I'm going to be demonstrating in some prints and solid colors. So what you choose to use is really totally up to you. If you have some of your favorite colors, that's what I would go with. The patterns are going to be $5 and available right here at Neil's. So if you're interested in those, just let me know. Let's see how this goes together. What you're going to need are 2.5 inch squares of the dark, the medium, and the light. You're going to need a 2.5 by 4.5 inch strip of the lights, and you're going to need some 4.5 inch squares of the dark. And that's really what it is. These are just very straight seams, straight corners, and simple to put together. This really consists of 2 separate blocks in one big one. So we've got this block, we're going to show you how to put that together, and then this simple one here, and we'll create a 4 patch. To do that, I have already started. So here is our first corner we're going to demonstrate. Here's my 2.5 inch square, 2.5 by 4.5, and then the 4.5 inch square. And fairly simple to do. You're going to sew the strips to each of the squares and do that 1/4 inch seam. And in the pressing part of this, I want you to press them to the dark side. Press to the dark side. So I'll lay this the way I had it before. And as you can see, we have this seam and this seam stitched, and we press those seams to the dark side of the fabric. By doing that, when we go to sew these 2 seams together, they're going to lay snug up against each other. And if we can get a close up, we're going to match that corner, those 2 seams, and those seams nestle just perfectly together so that when you are done, you have a nice sharp square corner. So once that is stitched together, you're going to do it twice, so you'll have 2 of them. I want to show you a little trick. When you press those, remember the first time we pressed to the dark. When we get done, we're going to press these now to the light side. And what I have done, this was the seam we stitched. I took out a couple of stitches from our seam to the edge of that first seam that we stitched on each side. So here's the long seam that joined our 2, and then I took these 2 little stitches out right there. When you go to press, this is called fanning. You'll see that the seams are kind of going in a spinning wheel like a fan, and then this opens up and you reduce that bulk right there in that center seam. It works perfectly to reduce that bulk, and you get a little 4 patch in the back. So I like to do that whenever possible to reduce that bulk. So we have these, you're going to make 2 of those. The next block consists of more 2.5 inch squares. So we have our dark and our light. These are 2.5 inch squares. This is 1 2.5 by 4.5. Now you're going to want to look at the directions to make sure we're placing this in the correct position. And we're going to make 2 of these. This time you're going to have 3 rows you're going to do. So we'll sew again, light to dark, and press to the dark side, and do the same thing here and press those. So now we have 3 rows. We're going to sew each of the outside rows to the center row. Again, because we pressed to the dark side, those seams are going to nestle together. So we'll sew that one, press it, come back. We'll sew this one on, press that, and you're going to have to do that 2 times for each block. So here I have this one completed. And again, let me flip this over so you can see how those seams fanned apart back here. Now, of course, this one will not work because this is a strip going through here. So now we have these 2, and we're going to put them together with our first 2, and that's going to create our block. Fairly simple. You can probably figure out what you're going to do now. Sew 2 together, sew these 2 together, and again, you will be able to nestle those seams, and once that's done, you can sew this together to create your block. Let me again show you the finished block and what that looks like. I want to also show you on the pattern. Of course, I've showed you before on the table runner putting 3 together, but on my pattern in the back, I'm also including some information to show what happens when we put 9 of these blocks together, and you do create a very cool geometric pattern on there. So along with that, I am providing some information, yardage of what you will need to create this 9 patch, which will finish out at about 35-36 inches square. So once again, let's look at the finished product. Here are 3 patches put together. You could continue that, make a larger one. As the year goes on, something you can try to do if you want to just do 1 block at a time, do all of 9 of my different blocks, put them together for a quilt. That's an option. If you would like to do a couple of them, put them all together at the end of the year. It would be fun to see what everybody does do, and we hope you will post that on our Facebook page at Neil's Vacuum and Sewing Center. So thank you for joining me, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again.